Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to another Ultimate Admiral Dreadnought scenario. This one is continuing MrTabi's storyline, which takes place in China. It is 1937 and the Imperial Japanese Army has encountered stiff resistance by the KMT's army and air forces despite an overall technical advantage. They had taken Nanjing almost a year ago, and in spite of multiple victories, their supply of ammunition, spare parts and medical supplies are beginning to run low. To allow for a push into KMT territory and preventing mounting costs, Imperial Japanese High Command has sent its air force to distract the KMT as supply ships and their escorts make their way to Chinese shores. The United States has intercepted transmissions from the Japanese and knows full well that their interests in China are under threat. To combat this, a number of older US ships are donated to the KMT's small, almost non-existent navy in order to intercept these supply ships and prevent the Japanese from achieving victory conditions. Now, considering that my previous attempt to deal with the Japanese convoy didn't go that well, I believe I lost the entirety of my fleet, I'm not going to have many ships. In fact, I have options. There are a total of 24 supply ships. You have the option of building 1 battleship, 1 battlecruiser, 2 heavy or 4 light cruisers, or 6 destroyers. Right. And I need to sink 24 supply ships. Let's go with a 1920s battlecruiser, because I think that has the best option of making it into the battle and killing a lot of these supply ships. And potentially also dealing some damage against a light cruiser and a destroyer, maybe the battleships, depending on the size of the guns. The scenario initially called for a starting range of 3,000 meters, but I think that's not entirely fair. Because if I put a battlecruiser that's loaded to the gills with secondaries inside 3,000 meter range of their fleet, it's going to completely wreck transports before they have any kind of a chance to retaliate. So I'm going to set this to 10,000 meters. Despite my tech advantage, I hope to still be able to sink enough transports. So 1 Chinese battlecruiser. Well, Chinese battlecruiser sort of lent it to them, I suppose, by the US. I'm going to go with the most advanced ship that I can build, especially considering that I need to damage a lot of ships and make sure that, well, ideally I get this ship out of there as well. Let's see, I think speed is going to be of the essence to allow me to get in and out of the enemy fleet very quickly. I'm not sure if 45,000 tons is fair, because it would mean that I have a very, very big battlecruiser for basically for a navy that's struggling. So let's go with something a bit smaller. The thing is, now I'm starting to struggle with putting the ship together in the first place. There we go. Speed 30 knots, range is really not that important. I'm just trying to raid a couple of ships. I don't think the Chinese Navy would have a lot of training, would they? Especially considering we barely have a navy. So I'm going to set it to 0. We have absolutely no experience. We have been given a ship by the US, but without a crew. So we'll just have to make do with the crew as is. We're putting a bunch of rookies on this ship. When it comes to the main guns, what do we have? We got Mark 3s across the board up until Mark 15-inch gun. I think 13-inch guns on a battlecruiser are reasonable for this era. The problem with this particular hull is that you have a huge quarterdeck. But I don't really have the possibility of balancing that thing out. I can put this turret as far back as possible, there, and now I have it balanced, but this looks weird. Like an afterthought. Anyway, we'll just have to make do. Some barbette armor, I would very much appreciate having a coincidence rangefinder. A radio is not that useful, but sonar is. Some improved reload. When it comes to the shells, I know I'm trying to take down a convoy, so ideally high explosive shells. But at the same time, it's an older US ship that's been gifted to China. So that means that you might not have the possibility to choose what sort of propellant and what sort of shell charge you would like. You just have to make do as is. So I'm not going to read the tooltips too much. I'm going to say this is cordite, and that is picric acid. Let's go with slightly improved turret rotation speed. When it comes to the rudder, how about going for the unbalanced one? This is going to allow me to turn faster, although my turning speed is lower, and I will lose more speed in a turn. This means that my turning circle is 527 meters, and that is at maximum speed of 30 knots, which is pretty respectable. Okay, secondary guns. These are Mark 3s, Mark 4 2-inch guns. How about using just a bunch of smaller 4-inchers? No, I'll have that over there. No. Hold on. Sit. I was trying to get that gun. That one. Are there rooms for casemates here? Yeah, there are. 3-inch casemates, which I will happily use, considering that they're going to be very useful in dealing with a bunch of transports. Aft weight offset 0.6, 0.54 weight offset, good. I could go with light shells, but since I get bonus points for sinking the enemy battleship, I think standard or even heavy shells are a better way to go. What else would I like? I'm coal-fired, that's fine. I suppose I could go with more armor protection. Let's go for 10-inch on the belt. 6-inch forebelt, 6-inch aft belt. 11-inch on the turrets. 4-inch turret top. Superstructure would be nice to have a bit more. 2.5-inch there. The conning tower to 12. Or 13, whatever. I could mount torpedo launchers, but I really wouldn't know where. Is there any particular room for more 2-inch guns? No, not really. I could put some of them on the ship. Like that. How about putting this on a barbette? Because if I put that on a barbette... Oh. Never mind. I was hoping to put that on a barbette to allow me more room there for more turrets, more secondaries. But if I cannot do it there, I might be able to do it here. No. Not even close. Not even close. Okay. I still have quite a lot of displacement left. Semi-auto loaders. Electro-hydraulical turrets. More speed. 34 knots. 35. 35 I think is about the edge of it. Because then we're approaching the 33,000 ton displacement limit. Improve sonar to Hydro 3. Auxiliary. No, that's too much. Shaft. Shaft is good. What else do I need? A bit more armor, I suppose. Maybe some more on the 2-inch guns. Because they're going to be pretty useful, but I can only make that 0.5 inches max. This is max. And that's too heavy. Okay, this is our new ship. This is the Zhangyang. And let's see if she's able to take down the transports and survive the battle. Ideally do both. Alright, here we go. That is a serious battleship that the Japanese are sending to protect their convoy. I'd rather not make contact with that thing, but I think that's not really an option. This battleship of theirs... Holy crap. 18 12-inch guns, 33-inch guns, 36 2-inch guns, 22 8-inch guns. Holy shit, they're serious about getting their supplies to China. Look at this monster. There are guns everywhere. What sort of displacement do you figure this has? these are their light cruisers. 8 7-inch guns. Torpedo launchers, bow and stern. And we have some transports at a range of 10. Now, I don't have a lot of shells with me. 600 for the mains. Already a hit. The hell? They must have some good crew in there. Turning circle is good, but as you can tell, I'm already starting to lose speed because of that unbalanced rudder of mine. The plan is for me to get in and get out. Very quickly, eliminate as many transports as possible, and then just get out ASAP. So, main guns on the merchantman. It's a bit cruel, but it's what we're here for. We need to make sure that that convoy does not reach our shores. In the meanwhile, dodge torpedoes left, right, and center. I'm trying to get my secondary... Whoa! I'm trying to get my secondary... Holy shit, it's trying to... Let me try that again. I'm trying to get my secondaries to do something against the onslaught of smaller ships here. And their torpedoes, which are coming from every which way. Please build some speed again. Oh crap, there's another salvo. I've already lost 14% structural integrity, and... Really? It looks like the aft turret is gone, but... No, it's not. Seems like the animation there is a bit wrong. Torp here, torp there. I suppose if I move fast enough, I might be able to swing between the torp here and there. We have full ID on their battleships. 61,000 tons! Minimum bulkhead, cramped quarters, regular trained crew. Yeah. 30% chance to pen only. Tons and tons and tons of ammunition. So it's not like I'll be able to just keep dodging and weaving and going for the transports until they run out of shells. There's their light cruiser IDs. Minimum bulkheads as well. 7-inch guns. Torpedoes ranging 12.8. Speed's good. We should be able to ignore those torps now. And hopefully their main fleet's going to go that way and the transports are turning the other way. So I can still intercept their transports. But that was touch and go there. No, we're not going to hit their battleship. Although we can fairly reasonably pen it at this range. We're about even for our ability to pen, and they cannot get through my citadel. Same. I can't very well get through their citadel either. The amount of incoming shell fire is insane. I've already been shot at within the first 14 minutes of the battle almost 2,000 times. How fast are these? 14 knots, 13.4, okay. I'm also bleeding crew. Already 5% lost. Considering that I have lost 20% of my structural integrity, I think that's not actually that bad. Any chance we can hit that light cruiser? No, not really. Not really. Can we hit the transport? Because that's kind of what we're here for. 3%. Never mind. We're just going to have to go in there. Let the 4s, 3s, and 2s do the work. Essentially, with this amount of armament and not using the main guns of 13-inch, we're a particularly large and very easy to hit destroyer. Because that's the level of firepower, or at least the caliber of firepower that I now bring to bear. Range 7.8. Ow. I'm glad they have not been able to do any engine damage yet. But that can change fairly quickly. Hello, transports. The Grim Reaper has shown up. And since your escorts are heading the other way, I might have an opportunity here. 4-inch guns are opening up. Loads of transports. This is going to be good. Where are their destroyers, though? Because I have seen their battleships, I've seen their light cruisers, I'm not sure if I've seen their destroyers. But considering the vast amount of torpedoes that were thrown at me, I think they're shadowing the battleships. So you got light cruisers there and potentially there, or one of those smoke screens is a destroyer. Alright. Who let the wolf inside the area of the chickens? Must be the 60,000-ton Japanese battleships. Which are starting to have trouble to hit me. Excellent. Please don't tell me that's an actual destroyer. No. Miss ID. Good lord. It's always amusing shooting at transports because you can get so much damage in. And just everything burns and floods. I wonder if the 3s and the 2s are going to pick separate targets. But as of yet, not really. This is yet another example of how the AI needs to change. Because if an AI fleet has a bunch of transports like they do now, I would actually want them to try and defend those. Because now they're not even making an effort to get to me. They're heading south, these battleships. They're barely turning around to try and get to me. It's more of an afterthought. It's like the AI is on rails, and they've been ordered to go to, I don't know, some particular direction, and they're not deviating from it at all. Which, while it leads to an initial exciting encounter between the battleship and my battlecruiser, after that initial, let's say, clash has passed, it becomes a pretty easy fight. Because they don't even make an effort to get to me. And especially, let's say, anything prior to 1930, 1935, is going to have a lot of trouble trying to get any kind of damage in at that range. And yes, I do take the occasional hit, but it's not that serious. I think that they need to change the AI on the... Or sorry, let's say the logic of the AI, if that's the thing. That says, if there are transports, keep your ships close to the transports, or park your ships between the transports and the enemy fleet. Because while the Xianyang took quite a bit of damage early on, she is utterly unopposed now. Like I said, these convoy raids can be pretty exciting, but at this point it just becomes a boring battle. Whereas if the AI had kept their battleships, let's say at a range of 5 or 6 kilometers, ideally between myself and the transports, then it would have been vastly different. In reverse, it's not easy / impossible for me to do a battle like this, because I cannot control a ship like a transport. Transports are always AI controlled, and it's impossible for me to say, hey, I want the transports to head that way, and I'm going to keep my own fleet heading that way as well. You just have to kind of wait and see what the transports are going to do, and then hope that they don't do anything ridiculously stupid. Which is something that they end up doing frequently. And over here I think the AI is also suffering from a formation bug, which is making it very difficult for them to actually get any kind of a move on. Like the Kiyoshimo is dead in the water. I understand they're sailing in a convoy, but you really probably do not want to be dead in the water when you're fighting, or when you're under attack from a battlecruiser, or any ship for that matter. This is another example of why this game is just not ready yet. And like I said yesterday, I appreciate the new hulls, I appreciate the new features, I appreciate the new crew mechanic, but it's not what we need. That's not what we need. And it's almost like every time they implement a new patch, the AI just takes a small step backwards. I know that sounds unfair, but I've played a lot of battles, and I made a lot of videos on this game. And even though some people think I'm getting paid to shill this game, as they have said, without providing any kind of further evidence, it's just not true. And the more I play this, especially recently with very, very few patches coming out, the more I get critical of the game, and the more I go, oh, come on. Fix this stuff. You can do so much better. And I understand that adding a new hull is probably a lot easier than fixing AI mechanics. But you can have all sorts of placeholder stuff, or all sorts of, well, maybe not placeholder, but stuff that keeps the community busy, shall we say. Stuff that keeps your players happy by adding new eye catchers. Yeah, I think maybe that's the better word, eye catchers, in the form of adding new hulls. But it's not the thing that's holding the game back. Because their battleships are now 22 clicks out. I'm not even doing full speed, I'm doing 23 knots. The transports are mostly still. These battleships are still not heading towards their transports. Because the AI doesn't understand that they have transports. The transports are just a separate ship class that seemingly does not interact with the rest. So how would I go about fixing this game? I would probably have a look at what the biggest flaws with the AI are currently. And I'd say this is one of them. The formation system is another one, where you have ships that are just completely dead in the water. Or the lead ship is doing, I don't know, 20, 25 knots. The second ship is doing 20, then you got one doing 15, and you got one doing 10 knots. That's not a formation. That's just a bunch of spread out ships, which are getting increasingly more spread out. So that's one thing I would do. Just focus all the efforts, and I know that's probably not possible because they might have a guy in their team specifically very good at designing new hulls, so more graphic design. You got somebody working on the AI logic, you got somebody else working on, I don't know, historical research, potentially. What ships were there, what sort of guns did they have, what sort of metrics should we get. Maybe somebody working on the balancing, stuff like that. So it's not like you can just devote everybody's efforts to immediately switch over, like their production machines, to fix the AI. But these issues have been in the game for a long, long time. And if this thing hits Steam as it is, I'm concerned that a lot of people are going to be very disappointed. Why are we trying to hit that battleship at maximum range? Let's not, shall we? When I first saw this scenario, I thought, ooh, this is going to be a tricky one. Because my battle cruiser or battleship, or multiple heavy cruisers, or even more destroyers, they're going to have a pretty hard time getting to this convoy. And that's when the distance was set to 3,000 meters. Now, provided that, let's say the game says, no, you're not going to start at 3,000 meters from the convoy, you're going to start at 3,000 meters from the battleship. That might have even worked out in my advantage. At 3,000 meters, I could, had I started with destroyers, potentially, very quickly torpedoed them. And since they have minimum bulkheads, they might have sunk to them as well. But at the same time, all of those secondary guns would have been firing at me, and I would have died very quickly. With a 6,000 meter range, or 10,000 meter range start, they had a lot more opportunity to hit me. Especially since I picked a bigger ship. But overall, it's just the initial rush, and then it just tapers off. I do, however, think that I'll not be able to get the bonus points of sinking the enemy fleet, or sinking the enemy battleships. because I need to try and keep the Zhanyang alive. Ideally. 59% structural. There's still a lot of shell fire coming in. Although, look at this. These battleships started with 1,600 shells or something in that vicinity. They've done 4,000 damage. That's the Yamashio. And Nigitsu also fired about 800 shells. Fired 1,000 shells with a very, very low hit ratio and very little damage to show for it. Also, how did you do 4,000 damage and I didn't take 4,000 damage? What have you been hitting? There. They've been hitting transports. The escort ships are hitting their own ships. They have hit a transport for 17,000 and they hit a transport again for 16,500. Sorry, 1,676, not 16,000. 1,600 and 1,700. That's a different way of keeping your convoy safe. See? I protected the convoy. There is no convoy. Job done. Oh well. That ought to do him in. I think that's the last of the transports. Yep. That thing just burned dead. No, it's flooded to death. And there we have the Kasuga. Come on. Yeah, in the end this felt pretty easy. Whereas I thought this is going to be potentially another murder of my fleet or ships, depending on what I had. So, I can now just increase speed back to 27 knots, which is faster than their battleships can go. And I can just wait it out. Get out of range. Because their range is 23. I'm already sitting at 18. I'll be out of that range in no time. Right. AI stuff, as always. Let me know down below in the comments how you think the game should be improved. Not necessarily, oh, they need to improve the AI, but also how. What needs to change? I, for one, think that having the AI formation system work, and also having, for example, a directive that says if the AI fleet has transports, then, let's say, escorting ships must stay within 3, 4, 5 kilometers of said transports, would already be a big difference. Let me know down below in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll try not to rant too much on the game next episode, and I'll see you guys soon for another video.